Philip Kennedy Johnson, Sia Oum, and Scott Godlewski visit the far future of the House of L, who during a wedding procession are attacked by one of their own and banished to the Phantom Zone, forcing the family to come together and find a way out of the hellscape. Philip Kennedy Johnson expands the story he begun back in Future State and explores more of the future and the House of L's role in it, tying it perfectly into his current Action Comics and Superman storylines with Thal La and how she became a huge Superman fan thanks to the story she was told as a child on Warworld. I enjoyed we got to experience more of these characters from Future State. They were all quite fantastic in the little story we got of them during that run, and learning a bit more about the family dynamic here is really great, and getting to see one of their early adventures is pretty fun. Johnson in such a short time has done an excellent job building up this interesting and unique mythology for the future of the House of L, really doing a great job of selling it as like one of the big pillars of the future, and of course it makes sense. Of course Superman's family and dynasty would be one of the most important houses in the whole galaxy, in the whole universe even. Incorporating Hank Henshaw into the story was quite a surprise as well, and a great callback to his imprisonment in Action Comics issue 984. With a hint at more stories to come at the end of this issue, maybe at a later date or in another annual, I can't wait for Johnson to continue building this fantastic future for the House of L and for the DC universe. Sia Oum and Scott Godlewski combine their talents for some really fantastic looking, action-packed and colourful artwork. And like many DC books right now that have multiple artists, I thoroughly enjoy when a book gets two artists for two different parts of the stories, like this issue with Sia's lovely and detailed artwork being used to tackle the stuff set in the future Sanctuary and the wraparound story on Warworld, with Scott doing all of the Phantom Zone stuff with the Superman family. Scott's work is definitely a highlight for me this issue, considering he helped create all of these characters for Future State, so getting him to explore more of his own work is cool, and I think it's great that he can do all this really awesome stuff with these characters and be allowed to do it all. Action Comics 2021 Annual was an awesome exploration of more Future State concepts, building up an impressive and expansive history and mythology for the future of the House of L, while expertly tying it back to the current storylines in both Action Comics and Superman, truly making it all feel like it is one big giant story. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Action Comics 2021 Annual heads to the slums of Warworld, where a little girl runs through the streets pretending to fly, as an old legless war veteran hopes that someone will spare the warrior some iron so he can eat. The girl throws him a few coins as she arrives home. The girl is revealed to be Thal La, as Mr. Byler is asked by the other children if it's time for a story. He asks the kids which story they want to hear, and the kids want to hear about the Moon Dragon or the two snakes and the wheel, but Thal La says she wants to hear about Superman. The kids are quick to quiet her and close the doors of the house, stuffing the seams of the house so no one hears her. One of the kids takes Thal La's Superman toy, knowing that if anyone saw her with it, the blood priests would kill them all. Byler knows that that's enough, telling Thal La that there was no harm done. He tells the girl that they need to be more careful and remember what they risk coming there, since they need these stories, not the lies the blood priests feed them, so they need the stories of heroes and truths and justice and each other. He won't tell them a Superman story today or anything from the past, but a story from the future and from another world that he saw. He tells the kids that this is the story from many lifetimes in the future when their people had rejoined their mighty cousins in the stars. Mr. Byler talks about the Kryptonians of the House of L and how they were explorers and adventurers and seekers of truth, and much like them, they also dream of battles in the sky. In the future, the House of L gets ready for a funeral, with Leander not liking weddings. Her father, Brandon Kent, asks if she's ever been to a wedding before, as she complains about her armor, but the man says it's not real armor, it's for ceremonies like weddings, and it just looks cool. Rowan asks her brother Ronan if he thought this day would ever come, but he never thought Allura would marry since she is a Valkyrie through and through. Allura comments about how they talk about her like she's not even there, as Brainiac 4 compliments her on her choosing Khan to be her husband since he's a real fighter, but Allura knows that she chose him because of his heart. Kara Zor-El welcomes everyone to the Sanctuary to witness the union of Laura Van-El and the Fellowsian of the Warworld Prime, a people once defined defined by their search for truth and the horrors of war and the people who were tested for centuries but still survived. Allura tells the gathered people that she has brought them Khan, the greatest warrior on Warworld Prime, and she asks her aunt that their pasts be joined and that she grant him the name El. Khan wishes this to happen as well, not being able to offer much since he is just a lowly war master, but he offers the House of El his sword, made in the forges of Thanagar, and offers Allura his blood, which he will gladly shed for her. Kara knows that Khan has lived up to keeping with the highest traditions of the House of El, giving the warrior her blessing to join the family, but by the customs of the Warworld Felosians, he must now face one of the House of El in a test of strength. Kara asks who will face Khan in unarmed combat, with Brandon Kent, the Superman of Earth, being chosen. He apologizes for beating up Allura's man, but the woman tells him not to hold back, as Khan and Brandon get ready to fight, discussing Khan's every drop of blood speech, with Khan hoping that Allura liked it. Suddenly, the wedding is attacked by Phyros, the fallen son of Kal-El. Kara tells the villain that he has interrupted his own cousin's wedding, demanding he leave, but Phyros wonders if killing off Darkseid earned him no goodwill with Superwoman, since Allura has a High Father of Apocalypse as a cousin now. The villain thinks that given Allura's suitor's low station, he thinks his test should be more than a formality, hoping Allura is worth a real fight. Allura knows that it goes against tradition, but she wants to join her husband in his fight against her cousin. The couple confront Phyros, who conjures up a wedding gift he brought for them, a relic from the time of Kal-El. Activating the Phantom Zone generator, he blasts the entire family into the Phantom Zone. Back in Sanctuary, Superwoman attacks Phyros, who uses his magic to wrap Kara up in snakes, telling her that she is diluting his father's bloodline until they are nothing better than the chaff they govern. He says that he will save his house using his magic and his strength, just like how he saved Apocalypse. In the Phantom Zone, Ronan wonders how can they be there since the Phantom Zone projectors were all destroyed centuries ago, but Brandon knows that Phyros found a way back and it doesn't look different from the stories they were told. Allura knows that Brainiac 4 needs to come up with some ideas quick to get them out of here, and the Kaluan says the only confirmed escapes from the zone were done with projectors, none of which exist in this realm. They notice some monsters nearby, but it's too late as the various monsters come for the family. Brandon tells his daughter to stay behind him and use energy blasts only, and he knows that they will make it through this as Khan is told to keep a hold of his sword for a little while longer. Rowan wants them to remember who they are, and wherever the House of El goes, hope goes as well. The family battle the monsters for hours, and thanks to no yellow sun to power their heroes, they begin feeling their lives weakening, and they were forced to rely on one another, and didn't really have a knack for that yet. A dragon soon pins Theander to the ground, but Brandon saves his daughter, complimented on his skill by Khan as Ronan feels the ground shaking thanks to a group of giant squid monsters coming for them. The monsters grab at Khan and pull him towards a fissure in the ground, but the tentacles are shot apart as a voice says that the beasts may not look intelligent, but they recognize their House of El symbol. The hooded being says that he can lead them to safe ground as Brandon recognizes the man as Hank Henshaw, the cyborg Superman, a foe of Kal-El who destroyed Coast City. Brandon attacks the man, saying that they aren't following him anywhere, but Hank knows then they will die, understanding the mistrust they have for him since he once fought the real Superman many times. But these heroes don't have the yellow sun and don't understand the dangers or have no knowledge of the creatures or their ways. He knows that they have a Kaluan amongst them, and that means that if they follow him and trust him for a time, some of them may see the sun again. Hank says that they are to use their powers only when in dire situations, since any energy they use will be gone until they are returned home to the yellow sun, and he would have died long ago had it not been for his cybernetic components. Brandon asks where he's taking them, so Hank says he's leading them to one who can help them, since he and this being passed this way long ago seeking components for a device that would allow them to escape. A device the Kaluan, Brainiac 4, can control. Heading into a cave, Hank warns them not to touch the goo dripping from the ceiling, telling the team that the person they seek failed in the end, like everyone else there, since he didn't understand what this place was. Ronan doesn't think he understands since an L created the Phantom Zone, but Hank says that Jor-El just stumbled upon it with no understanding of it, and he just begun flinging his enemies into it with no thought of what would happen, something Kal-El also did later. He knows what the Phantom Zone is though, saying that it is a projection of a living mind, a god's mind to be more specific, and it's more powerful than anything they could conceive, and it is the mind of a being that they call the Ether. And this was once a place where prisoners could live in their own consciousness, never aging or dying, but that was when Ether slept, and now that she is awake, the place is full of living nightmares. The family ask what happened to all of the Kryptonian prisoners that were trapped there, as Brainiac 4 is attacked by a snake, which Cyborg Superman easily kills, telling the group that they have been seeing their fellow Kryptonians since they came, as they have all been turned into these grotesque monsters. Mr. Byler says the heroes followed the Cyborg Superman across the wastes, not knowing how long they traveled for, as they explored the Phantom Zone like Kal-El never did. In Sanctuary, Kara is imprisoned by the magic of Phyros, who now, with the L's being not present, he is able to bring forth his armies from Apocalypse. In the Phantom Zone, some time passes and many trials of strength are had for the L's, as Brandon reluctantly saves Henshaw from a giant monster, as Mr. Byler knows that over time, some of the family began calling the Cyborg Superman their friend, but Brandon Kent knows he never would. Soon they reach their destination, a small group of houses in a valley where they will find what they need. Brandon wants to know how he knows this, so Hank says he doesn't, but if he is there, the device will be as well, and their escape will rely on Brainiac 4's ability to use this device. They wonder who built the shelters, learning that they were made by a tribe of Kryptonian Harriers, and when Ether awakened, they retained more of their minds than most others. Ronan soon spots something, wondering if that was him, and Hank confirms it is him, as they find the bound corpse of Mr. Miracle, who is holding a mother box. Brainiac 4 recognizes the mother box, not knowing if he can talk with it. He touches the device, which begins making its unmistakable ping. Brainiac 4 finds it beautiful, as above the village, Ether awakens and has noticed the team. Hank knows that it doesn't want them to leave, as more monsters are sent to stop them. Allura notes that there is no cover for them, and if the creatures reach Brainiac 4, none of them will make it back home. Allura tells her new husband that their wedding was a bit unconventional, but Khan wouldn't trade it for anything, as he leads the family into the battle under the banner of truth and justice. The heroes battle the creatures as they can see the portal opening, as Brandon knows that he was right about Henshaw all along. Since Mr. Miracle wasn't killed by a mad god or a Kryptonian convict, his spine was severed by heat vision, and Cyborg Superman is the only one with that power now. Brainiac 4 calls the team together as Brandon accuses Henshaw of killing Mr. Miracle, and when he couldn't make the box work, he just waited around for another cyborg to come and allow him to escape. Henshaw doesn't deny it, shooting Brandon with his heat vision and quickly stealing the box from Brainiac 4, hoping the Superman enjoys eternity. Theander hits him with her energy beams as Ronan beats the liar down. Brainiac 4 tells him there is no time for any of that, as on Sanctuary, Phyros finds a strange little piece of metal, wanting to know what it is. Kara says it's one of the house's most greatest treasures, a relic from the time Superman liberated the Philosians, and it is carved in a child's image of Superman. She says that when she sees it, she is reminded of their people and what they are capable of when they are pressed and when they are given something to believe in. The room is filled with the ping of a mother box as the House of El return. Phyros congratulates his cousins as Khan hits him in the face with the sword hilt, having been waiting a long time to do that. Ronan agrees, knowing he feels like the one most deserving of a turn in this battle is Allura. The Valkyrie rides her dragon down into Phyros as the parademons arrive to back him up, but Brainiac 4 sends them to the Phantom Zone with the mother box. Rowan frees Superwoman, happy to see her again, as Kara says that she's been caged for what feels like a lifetime, wondering how they freed themselves. Kara soon spots Hank Henshaw, saying that the years have been cruel to them. Superwoman grabs the cyborg, intending on throwing him back into the Phantom Zone, but Hank tells her to wait, since if not for him, the House of El would have died 100 times over in the Phantom Zone. Kara asks Brandon if that's true, and Superman says that he's a murderer and he used them to escape, but if it hadn't been for him, they would have died, and he doesn't think Clark Kent would have intended him to be in the zone forever. Kara decides to give Hank an official pardon, but he is to give them no reason to look for him, and if he does, they won't be so lenient. In the chaos, Faris manages to escape, with Kara knowing that they haven't seen the last of him, as Theander knows that her father is hurt, but Brandon knows he'll live. He knows he wouldn't have survived if it was for the rest of the family, saying he can't believe how tough the kids have gotten, and he thinks he's a bit long in the tooth now, so he thinks he's going to take up more of a teacher role from now on, telling Ronan if he's interested, Earth deserves a new Superman. Khan meanwhile wonders if this counts as a successful trial for his wedding, and Allura knows that most would call it acceptable, and Kara agrees that they have won the day, looking forward to hearing of their adventures, but it's clear that the House of El has found a worthy addition in Khan of Warworld Prime. Superwoman knows the 7 heroes saved their home and legacy, and she has never been prouder, and she can see the deep bond between them has grown. She finishes the wedding ceremony, wedding both Allura and Khan together, letting them seal the deal with a kiss, as Mr. Byler knows that Khan El bore his new name with honor, and both he and Allura became 2 of the greatest heroes of their house, while Ronan Kent became the new Superman of Earth, fighting through the multiverse with his sister Rowan Kent, the Blue Lantern. Brandon meanwhile retired as a hero and devoted his life to training his daughter Theander, who would soon become Superwoman herself. Thaular wonders what became of Kara, so the man says that she led the House of El for many years, but her story would take her to many different worlds, and even to see her meet Kal-El again, but that's a story for another time. The kids are disappointed it's over, as the man tells them all to head home before they are missed. Thaular decides to ask the man that when she makes up stories, they sound made up, but when he does it, they sound very real. Byler says that she is clever, wondering what she thinks, so the young girl thinks that he's seen the future, wondering if the elves will really have her toy one day. Byler hugs the girl, saying that she really is a clever one, and to answer her question, that's a story for another time, and a story he will tell her when she needs it the most. She needs it the most.